Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Clara and I'm a character illustrator and writer. And today I'll be concepting Almeda Fonseca, the steel tech engineer. Now, I've never drawn sci-fi or concepted it very much. I'm just working on my mental library, what I know in my head, to see where I'm at. And in this picture, I'm putting her inside a large warehouse where she works. I'm trying to add depth by making things tiny in the background and trying to add a lot of equipment to look like it's a very busy place. And right now I'm just blocking out the picture, trying to get the generic shapes down where I want the background to be, and some random little engine. Just trying to draw her being very busy, giving out her orders while her workers work. And now I moved on to doing a very basic, rougher sketch before I get my line art down, now that I have her all blocked out. Trying to get movement in her body, look like she's busy walking away, giving out her order while going through her clipboard. The story is mainly based in a fantasy type world, but this fantasy world also has technology in it. A very consumed and limited technology they have is based on their magic system, and it's used from their power crystals and arcanotech. Arcanotech is the current term we're running with until we just have confirmed or decided on it. A more forgotten and lost form of technology would be steel tech, which most has been forgotten or thrown away in the ruins around them. Her and her team go and excavate ruins, bring back relics, and try to restore or rebuild the steel tech technology that they have. And right now in the picture, I'm doing the line art right now and concepting out her chest piece. I'm still using the matte ink daub brush. I love this thing. I've been using it for everything. It's been doing a really good job for getting the line art down. It still gives texture, staying away from the flat, digital, boring look. And here I'm trying to give a mixture of leather, cloth, and a few tough plates on her chest, as she does work in a workhouse and she's around technical equipment and magical equipment that could go wrong at any time. So I wanted to give her some protection. It feels like I'm getting faster and faster, sketching out, doing line art, and coloring each and every time, which is why it's really great to practice as much as you can with your hobby or your art, because every time it feels like I'm improving. And speaking on improving, it feels like I'm getting better at hand, slowly but surely. I'm getting there. Again, I'm pulling from my own mental library. If I ever get hard stuck on something, I will go and try and pull up a reference just to try and get me out of there. Once I'm done introducing all of the characters, I do want to do a more intense set of studies so I can start to actually improve and expand my visual library. While I feel most of my artwork is passable, I can tell I'm missing a lot of depth and angles, shading, hands and shapes and postures. I want to try to make each scene or panel interesting. I just don't want to do the straight face shot every single panel like you see in a lot of comics these days. I don't know if I'm accidentally adding a lot to my plate or not, but we shall see. One of the things that usually takes me a lot of time on a character is adding the tiny little details, like you saw her little tool pouch there. I definitely wanted to have one present on the character so you could get more visual idea of who she is and that she is hands-on in her company. And I was really sad I had to put a piece of paper over the clipboard, mechanical pieces, after I went through and concepted it out, but sometimes that's just how it ends up. I never know what I'm going to be covering up, so I go ahead and draw it out anyways for the practice, and when I put something over it, it goes over it naturally. Now we're down to the last of her line art, creating her holster, and now we're adding in her little gun. I didn't want to put too much detail on this guy because I'm planning to fade him out in the background, so he's just a casual little worker welding away. I have no idea what this is, but it has to be something important because it's big. I went ahead and put in some slightly desaturated darker colors in there, but not too dark. That way the background is not the main focus, it's in the back and I don't have to worry about over detailing it. I've been working really hard making myself not over detail, because sometimes I would just try and put detail into every single thing and it was pure chaos when it came to like looking at the image. I made sure I had to draw everything tiny to make it look like it was pushed back far. The warehouse was huge. I tried to add a whole bunch of equipment being carried around, a whole bunch of boxes. I wish I could add a lot more sci-fi details in there, just to make it look more cohesive. But this is just telling me that what I know basically is lacking. Now I'm just adding the details to the pipes because it's midway in the picture. A strong light overhead, so it's giving the strong short shadows underneath. I'm coloring the welder, giving him a nice strong light. I'm loving this brush. It's giving everything I want when it comes to light coloring. When I started to create this walkway, I accidentally made it look like a conveyor belt, and that is not OSHA approved. I'm not using perspective on here, as you could probably tell. I probably will in the future because Clip Studio has an amazing perspective ruler. I eventually went in and erased every second the middle line in between and started making it look like plates like we see right here. Give it a more metallic industrial look. And the fun part, I liked adding the lights here because it was a nice contrast and pop, and then I got to add the reflections and shine. I plopped a little box in the corner to look like there's materials lying about. I tried to fade it out a little bit to push it back. Atmospheric distancing, I think it's called. And then I randomly started creating this engine part looking thing. I just started plopping shapes everywhere, trying to make it look technical. It's kind of fun making these though, because you just make all these little hard edges, shapes, lines, wires. It looks like an important part. And so far the background's all on one layer, and now we're back to filling in our line art with color. My last picture, I did it all on one layer to try and see if I could go painterly, and I don't think I want to do that anymore. So I'm keeping them on separate layers so I can have the preserved transparency, which makes coloring things really fast for digital. And here I'm just doing one flat color for her clothes, and then I'll come in with the transparency lock and I'll block in her color scheme for that. I chose a brown for her because her house colors will probably be a dark orange, bronze, black, and a light gray. Now I'm using the matte ink brush again just to do her shading and coloring. It's working out pretty good. Here I tried to use some soft brush and then smoothed it out and shaped it out the shadows with the ink again. Almeda is a very busy woman who usually forgets to eat and sleep, so she has that bit of a tired, gaunt face to her. Here I'm blocking in her color scheme. She looks really good with the black and orange right now. I chose a dark leather so it didn't compete with her other part of her scheme. Here I am playing with the colors, seeing what looks good for the plates on her armor. And then I swap it up and slap down the orange and it looks much better, adding in the black. I think it's a lovely contrast, and now I'm on back with the matte ink brush, the Daub brush. I have some soft there for the leather. I'm trying to keep the soft parts for the cloth. Now at this point I just kind of switched completely over to the ink brush and practicing highlighting and shading with that. I try to keep the cloth looking like cloth, the leather a little bit harder, and then for the plates I'm giving them a nice little shine like you see here. I'm really happy with how the reflection turned out on those. I really like how her color scheme came out and the different materials. I'm giving a little shine on there, it looks awesome. Now I'm about finished with her outfit. I'll be moving on to her little details. I didn't like the hard shadows on the paper here, so I actually smoothed it out since it was very rounded. And I decided to darken up her leather a bit to make it fit more with her color scheme. Adding some rounded lights, coloring her tools, and then the dark shadows to make it really fit in. Here I'm beginning to add her nails, her lips, the little details. And the last part, I'm coloring the lines to not make it look as harsh. Hard lining, and that's it. I went ahead and added a little speech bubble in there, and you see there's the finished thing, a little mock panel, what it would look like in the story. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you like the videos and like to see more, I post every Sunday. Like, subscribe, I'll see you in the next video.